everybody, to The Creative Moment, Season 8 or 9.
Season 8, Episode 9.
Season 8, Episode 9. We are here joined by a celebrity bubbler cracking guest.
Live audience member.
Yeah, just...
keep the other live audience member.
She's the lion tamer for the episode, yep. So, as always, Don DeBoer, Jamie Bullhauer, Mocha Bullhauer, the usual. But Kaylin Bullhauer is joining us today. So, let's go ahead and get right into it. And there we go.
We might see her later. Maybe
we're gonna have to speed that crack up in the editing process. But
yeah.
All right, go tame your lions. Good job.
Okay.
All right, that was great. Today we're just kind of doing an update.
Yep.
We haven't done one of these, I think, yet this season. We started this season off with like our series, didn't we? Or maybe that was 7. I don't know. But we haven't done one in a while. So we just thought we'd kind of catch you guys up to our creative endeavors. And then obviously if you guys in the comments have some cool stuff that you've been working on or have some cool ideas and stuff, definitely let us know. But for now, you get to listen to us talk about our updates. So
yeah, so actually in one way, where it's cold and windy and stuff, and you just came
from the Mediterranean weather of California. So
yeah, a very different opportunity, and I was going to ask you, anyway, but only had a little bit of time today when you got back about the creative aspect of trying to do something so commercial type of thing. So why don't you first tell everybody what you can in regards to what you did. Where you were at.
Went out to Southern California, kind of bounced around there from Brea, which is close to Anaheim, like suburb LA, to San Diego, and then out in the desert in Coachella Valley, Bermuda Dunes area, with Coachella actually going on. But luckily I got out of there before, Thursday and the crowd started to come. But working on a corporate shoot for a company that does turf management on like golf courses, the mowing, the sand management, just keeping the courses nice, things like that. And it wasn't my first corporate shoot, but definitely the farthest I've traveled for one, halfway across country. And it was very interesting. The logistical side, which doesn't need too much kind of detail, but basically I'd ride around with a rep. We'd go out to a course or two and just kind of get the turf management equipment in action, as well as kind of some more pose stuff, whatever. I had a whole list of things that I needed to get, so that part was kind of easy, knowing the type of content. The actual getting to be creative part, the angles, the compositions, that sort of thing was where I got to really be creative. And one of the interesting parts that come with kind of those more boring isn't the right word, but not exciting. Yeah, kind of
scripted.
Yeah, just setups, structured. I guess I'll use the word structured shoots. Is sometimes you can very easily fall into just being the button pusher on the camera instead of being the creative behind the camera. Just taking the shots because they want a shot of this instead of, what would be a cool way to portray this tool being used or equipment being used. So the first day it was definitely a little bit of an adjustment. I haven't done a corporate shoot in probably 6 or so months, something like that. And so finding how to be a fly on the wall to where they don't feel, the talent. They're not really talent. They're just working.
Yeah.
Where they don't feel awkward, but also knowing that I kind of have to be up close and personal getting this stuff was definitely interesting. It's a lot more just kind of building a just small, tiny relationship with them, and then they're a lot more conducive to helping you get whatever you need. So it was fun to be able to be creative in kind of more of a structured shoot where I took some creative liberties of, they wanted a wide shot of this, but I really think a tighter shot would look better. and doing things like that. So that was a really enjoyable experience.
So you shared a little bit when you were doing some work one night or things like that. We don't have to, talk about the shot itself, or maybe you can, because you have whatever aspects. But I pointed out, I was like, oh, that picture looks like a corporate type of thing. But yeah, as I thought about it, so. How you talk about or have talked about telling the story within a single shot. Was that in place for that, or does that kind of corporate? This is for their advertisement stuff,
website and social media.
And so is that the story? Because I'm just you could tell. I was but yet it had its own vibe. So how did or can you talk about that process of trying, or even if you thought about that within at least that?
So there was a specific shot list that we needed to get, and then there was because not every person that goes on those trips, just kind of depending, is a dead set full-time creative. Mm-hmm. So some of those trips people have to go on, they need a more direct, hey, we need this. There's also a part on that spreadsheet that just says customer relations or more general
a
theme.
Big kind of a category.
Yeah, kind of theme-oriented stuff. And so in that specific shot, they were working on a piece of equipment that I had them. They drove me out to one of kind of the trophy holes on the course.
Yeah.
And I just kind of walked around that little hole, and I was like, hey, this part of the course would look really good for this because I can get the landscape in the background. The sun was coming behind them, so their faces weren't blown out, things like that. And then I told them, just act like something's wrong with the equipment. You got to break it open, do all this stuff, and then just kind of let them be there. But I had the image in my head of what I wanted it to look like, the wide shot with the mountains coming here and here, and them just kind of being in that lower to mid third. So a mix of the structure, a mix of kind of the candid direction by me and the creativity. It is a nice balance, and with that being one, my first shoot with this company, and two, a very kind of big, a large company, there's a little bit of pressure, so that balance feels a little more delicate in getting that. But I thought I did a good job kind of finding that.
And I think it's a great shot. It's just knowing enough of being an artist. I'm I could see that as a flyer, or having text, whatever they want to do with it. It's it's
kind of like a magazine cover stuff.
Yeah, it just really did. And I was because I obviously I don't want to text, and because you were working and showing some stuff, and then it's just I almost was was that actually broken?
No.
Well, you remember you had to wait. You told me that they were fixing on something, and so I was just it was really kind of cool seeing, and obviously you have shared some pictures of your downtime, which is a lot different than the corporate stuff. So how, even though logistics, I know that you had to wait to get into a building or something so how hard was it on your end as a creative, making sure that everything ran well according to what they actually wanted? Or did you just have to sit back, or did you get to dictate a little? That's a part of the work. I mean, I get that that's part of the work aspect, but
there's definitely a balance with that too, because the rep has got to do what they're there to do. So there was a period where they spent close to 2 hours working on a piece of equipment that was broken. I can capture that, but it's not going to take me 2 hours to get the overall theme of fixing this piece of equipment. So there is part where I get to kind of direct, hey, can we go to this hole and get this piece of equipment? But also, they're just doing their jobs. There was actually a section of one of the fairways that was I don't know if there was kind of some sand in the soil or what, but it was pretty torn up. And they used one of the pieces of equipment that they didn't think I was going to get to shoot on that piece. So then I can just kind of hang around, let them do their thing, and get what I need, because that took them about an hour to do. So that first day, or that second day in San Diego, was not very directive. It was just kind of letting them do their thing because they were hitting my bases while I was shooting. The day in the Coachella Valley, the rep just said, wherever you want to go, whatever you want to do, just let me know. I was like, can we get 2 people here? He calls his buddy. His buddy comes down. They didn't plan on wearing the same polo, but they did.
We'll have to look, see if that gets used.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So that one was where I could kind of direct him, hey, I'd really like to get a shot up top here. So we drove around it was a nice balance between the one day he just kind of did his thing and I just captured it versus a little more direction. Everybody that I met was super helpful, and just whatever you need, let me know. It just so kind of happened to work out one of the days the rep actually had quite a few things to do, so I could just capture that and it hit the bases. The other day, the rep was just kind of there to serve me and make sure that I got what I needed, and that was kind of his job for the day. And the first day, obviously, I was kind of on my own, but working with kind of those people in the warehouse, it was a little mix of both. I was like, can you lift up this part and just kind of fake screw it in, or screw it in, screw it out type thing.
All right. So kind of last question in that regard. What benefits do you think you gained from taking on this opportunity that would directly relate to your more creative aspect?
I definitely learned how to take kind of the initiative creatively. Like I said, with kind of the themes on that spreadsheet, they're open to interpretation in a certain way. Like I said, if they said they want a tight or a wide shot, but I think a tight shot looks better, taking kind of that creative liberty, and obviously I can get both, but they were kind of like less is more. We don't want to have to look through a billion photos type thing. I creatively just kind of learning. I've never photographed something like that before, like those types of things. Yep. So photographing large pieces of equipment and encapsulating within the story of the piece of equipment, if you will, it as a whole and its individual parts that do different things, as well as the large part of the company having all these large pieces of equipment, small pieces of equipment, that type of thing. That was something that is very layered, and figuring out tying those threads so they all weave kind of the same story was definitely something. And through the different days, right? So one day was cloudy near the ocean, the other day was in the desert. So just tying everything in to be under the umbrella of the brand, while also individually highlighting, here's this piece, here's some of the parts. Kind of like a family tree type aspect, if you will. And that takes a lot of creative energy, because you have to think kind of a little bit of product photography and video, a little bit of macro close-up type of stuff. You have to get the clients and the customers, so kind of lifestyle type shots. So you have to think in a lot of different areas, all within one kind of day, 2 days, 3 days. And I think I did a good job. It was really fun. I mean, when you get to be in those new situations, new things, the creativity comes a lot. A lot faster.
Yeah, we actually talked about like one way to do something different. All right, so it's just kind of ironic you talked about having some themes, and like my major update is obviously it's April. It's write a poem a month, because April's National Poetry Month, and every day we get a new theme, and you're kind of open, or a new prompt, and you get, as a poet, you decide what you do with it. And so it's just kind of a little ironic. We've both been dealing with that open-endedness a little bit. But I been on schedule. Not every time I don't post my poems all at the same time because, track and everything. But had a really cool moment that I've talked about before. Like one of the big benefits of being a creative is contributing to other people, and stuff. And I decided. I guess I wouldn't say I decided, but this is also by doing this that I can get back into specific poetic forms. Okay, but not every poem I've written so far has a fit of form, But it's just it's tough. Also, the creative energy because it's like, okay, gotta write again. I want to do a different form. And I'm not saying I'm trying to force poetry into a form. I'm still trying to keep that open. But that's also part of the goal. Well, because I've done that, I introduced a fellow poet. I follow Writer's Digest prompts. And so Writer's Digest actually has a discussion board. That's where every day people are posting, and you get your... And earlier, I had used a specific form. And so like, I hadn't heard of that, chat a little bit on there. And then yesterday, they wrote, the prompt was city, and they wrote this really cool poem from the pigeon perspective, from more like a farm pigeon, and kind of saying how farm life, and use the form that we had chatted about and stuff, and they put at the bottom of their poem, they're like, thank you to me to showing me this. And their poem is really, it's like, that's really good. And so just to know and to be a part of that process of one little thing, I don't know if they really liked my poem or not, but the form was interesting enough for them to go and learn the rules and then produce, when they got the chance in that. And that poem that they wrote in its element just wouldn't be if I didn't actually just share, and just try to do that. And, I think it's a powerful fill your bucket, but also understanding the connectedness of creativity, of art, of things, and how it has, whether it's a small, big, whatever, it has a role in people's lives, and it makes a difference. And it's kind of cool. We already did our quotes, I know, but Prince, in an interview, somebody asked him how come he gave all these songs away. I think I may have mentioned that earlier. He's like, well, the more I give, the more I get back from the creative world in that regard. And, it's just like,
So how does it challenge or maybe help you creatively getting a different prompt? Do you know what the prompts are beforehand?
No. He has it, but no, we get every morning he posts a new page or prompt page, because then that's where the discussion goes also. So you have to go to each day to kind of read the poems that are connected to that prompt. So fresh
how
prompt.
Does that challenge you every day? Because some days, like we've talked about with mood affecting creativity and what we create, whether if we're sad, we make more depressing art, things like that. How does maybe an unknown prompt or a prompt that doesn't resonate immediately, how does that challenge you?
Well, like yesterday was a challenge because we had a huge track meet, and like some of the top performers in Class B, and so when I got to school, I read the prompt. I only actually had about 3 hours before the track meet was going to start. I knew we'd get home late, so it was about the prompt was city. And I was like, oh, I love the city. But I had to just sit on it. And I didn't have to make it a goal to be done before the track meet. But I knew that I would not be... you only have so much time and energy in a day. My energy would be pretty depleted by the time I finally got home. So the challenge in that case was... I don't think I rushed it. But I did, okay... And I still used a poetic form on top of it. Instead of just doing some free verse and letting it be, I chose a Vietnamese one, the 6/8 one, and it wasn't very long, but I was like, okay, I like it. I like it enough. It is a challenge. We're not looking for perfection every day. We're looking at trying to, so that alone, and so every day though, it is, you got to get the poem written, you got to get it posted, so energy-wise, it's that double-edged sword. The energy to do it is tough, but yet by doing it, it's filling the bucket at the same time. So I don't know if you just equalize it out to a degree, but yeah, and some of them I got the prompt for today. I sat early this morning after getting groceries, and I sat there and I don't know, I can't. It's not. I'm not. I think I got a cool form that might work, but as of the moment, I have no idea what I'm going to write about. So this one might get posted after dinner.
So you've been doing this. This is your third year or something?
No, like now this is officially. Yeah, officially my 5th year.
Okay,
that I've done it.
When you get done at the end of April and you have just kind of this portfolio of poems, do you find yourself wanting to kind of take time off after putting out so much work in so little time, or do you feel more inspired and kind of ready to start doing your own no restrictions type work after that's This year, I am just my spirit is gearing up. I really want to tackle my novels once April's done. It's like I don't know. It's just that itch. Obviously, April 2020, I turned all those poems into the book, but I added the reflective part about it and about what was happening with COVID, and so that book is a combination of my blogging basically, and the poem that was given for that day, and sometimes actually the very short story also. So April 2020, the time capsule of living and writing during the pandemic, I think that's the official name. As soon as I was done, I actually kind of thought about that. I was like, this is a crazy event in the world, and so I went back and spent most of May talking about each poem. Most of the time, I don't officially take a break. I mean, it does get the juices going to a degree, and so this year I really want to get one of the novels done, and so that officially May has it as my own little challenge thing. I've got a challenge brewing. I want to get rules down for me. So with that, do you take inspiration from some of these poems that you make, or maybe go back and fine tune them after the fact? Will you incorporate maybe some of the kind of feelings that you had while working on a specific prompt and kind of bring them with you into projects down the line, or do you just kind of leave April, poem a day, month as it is, as kind of just a separate entity, and then move on?
Well, some of the poems are better than others. It's a challenge, so you got to have the poem done by, and fulfilling the challenge is important. In my mind, it's a repetition. It builds skill set. But some of the poems are in other books, or in my poetry books. And so some of them I feel, so they get tweaked. They get tweaked before I put them in publication. And then others, they're good.
Are what they are.
They are what they are. It's a challenge. You got to do it every day. And so, but the ones that I felt were good, they get a re-edit or something like that, and then some of them will end up in my next collection, which I am also. That's one of my this summer. I want to put another book together, which you have taken a picture, I hope. Remember the moon
yep.
and the star one?
I've got those in there.
Yes, so that's my idea for the cover. So, and in some ways, though, just even the ones that don't go anywhere, they've been written. Somebody has read them, and so
That's like weightlifting. You have a bad weightlifting day. It's just you still lifted the weight.
Yep,
You still did the rep and things like that. We have about like 3 minutes.
Hey,
bring in our resident celebrity.
Yes, our guest, the live speaker. You get to. She's been pondering this question since all of our guests have been asked what their definition of creativity is. So, what is your definition of creativity?
It can pick you up just standing. You're good. You're good.
You know, it's a. Oh.
Pick you up.
My definition of creativity is creating something that expresses yourself in a way that expresses yourself.
In a roundabout way, that's what we say.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. All right. Good job.
Good job.
Oh.
Okay, well, great note to end on. Thank you again. That was kind of our updates over the last month-ish. Like you said, we haven't done one in a while, so thought we'd just kind of touch base on some current/past kind of projects that we've been working on. And yeah, so getting ready to wrap up here, season 8. Again,
Season finale next time.
Yeah. So again, thank you guys as always for watching, listening, supporting, however you may be doing that on whatever platform you may be doing it on. So without further ado, we will see you guys in a couple weeks. Very nice.
Yep. Well, I was thinking about it.